This hurt in my soul. It's hurt in my spirit.
Alright, Teegue
And that's
ranting.
again that I put talk.
starting.
Welcome everyone to the Anything Goes podcast episode number 13. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Kev Carter.
Yeah, man. Yeah, bro.
I'm also joined by our special panelist, Mr. M.
Yo, hi, good evening, everyone.
We're also joined by Mr. Teegue. How are you doing, sir?
Are you here, man? This is gonna be savage.
Oh God, I'm ready. I'm also
What
joined.
have I walked into?
I don't know, boy. I'm also joined by Mr. Teegue. How are you doing, sir?
Yes, man. I'm good, man. I'm good.
The Bajans Phil Spencer, man.
Well, it's something else, man.
All right, just sending links here, so now we gotta get started. Our first topic, let me put it up for people to see. Oh boy, LIAT again, boy. We gotta start with LIAT, boy.
Gotta start with Duguay, boy. You been my Duguay hot already.
Yeah, boy.
Right. We can go in on this one.
Well, last week in the news, it announced that both Barbados and Service has shows their shares in LIAT to Antigua in the restructuring of the airline. So, you know what? We jumping in straight to it. Mr. Duguay, take the floor, man.
As we already know, LIAT has been failing for a long time, and Antigua is trying to keep it afloat. So when Barbados and St. Vincent already said up front, look, we need to get to pull out. It doesn't make sense reinvesting in an organization as the initial investment is 108 million EC. No, I think they have to come to a point where it has to stop. And Antigua and Dominica are saying that St. Vincent and Barbados are being unfair and unreasonable, and that we shouldn't be pulling out. But if Antigua wants the airline so bad, I believe that they need to start pulling their own weight and start putting in most of the funds. It came up as part of the topic of the debate that they had, the discussions, I should say, that the Caribbean Development Bank would have to get back the 3 aircraft that belong to them that were on loan from that were on loan to LIAT. The issue is with that is that the Caribbean Development Bank headquarters is here in Barbados, and Antigua has a big problem with sending the 3 LIAT aircraft here. Even though that Antigua has no ownership over the property does not belong to them. And if they are going to dissolve the organization, the aircraft need to go back to the respective owners as far as we're concerned, unless they are planning to pay for the aircraft up front, which, as we already know, the cash-strapped airline is unable to do. Asking employees to take a 50% cut on their severance or 50% cut on their salary is complete breach. I know that if the reunions in Barbados, would they hear that? If it was here in Barbados, it would be complete chaos. The whole island would get shut down. I want to hear the other gentlemen's opinions though, because I want to see how everybody else feeling about the whole scenario as it's playing out.
Mr. M, would you like to go?
I want to take an alternative viewpoint to him and say, yeah, he came with the perception that Antigua was doing wrong, but I think in this case, Antigua did what was right and what was necessary. Antigua saw a position where it saw already an existing entity where it was already something that was to behold, and they had to stick to their guns and bring you back to the table and hold on to these planes, and eventually you gotta meet me at the end of the day. And I think ultimately that's something that happened. The prime ministers had no choice but to go to Prime Minister Brown in Antigua and say, you know what, maybe the plan that you had was right. And I applaud Prime Minister Brown for doing that. And maybe if LIAT 1974 is gone, then maybe LIAT 2020 is something that we can look at, because it don't make sense looking at starting a new entity. We already got something that works well for us, even though it may be late sometimes. It could be improved. And just work with it and improve it and see what best can be done. So I think the other gentleman's viewpoint about Antigua taking a stance that is hurters or wrong, or could be seen as malicious, is not something that you take the position as wholeheartedly. I think he's completely wrong in his statements, and I am prepared to defend my decision one way or the other.
Can I ask a question? But it's my show, so I
Sure.
can obviously answer a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a move by Barbados to gain power by having their own airline, or
Um.
invested in a joint venture with another Caribbean island?
Well, I can assume that was directed towards me, and I don't think
Yes.
it was. I think it was a situation where Barbados already had its own airline, and we basically we failed to assist in that area. We had a Ryjet, and what did we do? We didn't offer any help. The planes were there, and we didn't offer any subsidization. We didn't offer any fuel subsidies. We didn't say any, hold on on these parking fees. Let's ease in there a bit. We don't offer any entry taxes in terms of tourism to get more people on the planes. Nothing. Barbados did nothing. And what happened to Reg? It flopped. Only reason LIAT survives nowadays is that it's constantly propped up by regional governments. And there's a situation now where Antigua recognizes that maybe with more efficiency, we continue to go to the stage where other people will not chime in, but accept it and work with what we got, improve it, and go from there.
All right, Mr. Teague.
Um, it's good to hear the different perspectives, but what I would say is that the whole the whole issue surrounding LIAT is the to me at least is the fact that it's not profitable. You cannot develop an airline and say, oh, you're doing this to help the poor people, or you're doing this to help this country, or you're doing it to help that country. You got to look at it and say, look, is this profitable, or even if it is feasible? And they don't even think that those sort of things were considered. It was a case where you have the money to invest or put into an airline, and you did, and you didn't really take into consideration how you're gonna run this efficiently, what sort of staff you're gonna need. LIAT is clearly overstaffed in Antigua. Way too many people out there. How you're gonna deal with a government overstepping its boundaries in terms of hiring staff. All those sorts of different things they didn't consider. I know you have a huge organization which is expensive to maintain, and is not making any profit at all, and it's not really helping the individuals within the Caribbean, because a lot of people, how many people actually use LIAT? And you have to take into consideration as well, because when you go on some of those LIAT flights, there are about two people, three people, sometimes 10 people if you're lucky. And the thing about it is, especially in the airline industry, for every seat that's empty, that's money lost.
Correct.
Yep.
That's money lost. So you have to think about. I'm not going to get into the specifics of whether a government should run it or not. That's a whole other debate. But what I should say is that you should be thinking about how can you provide transportation that makes a profit, and you
And
may end up going down the road. You may end up going down the road and using different planes. You may have to go down the road of using like a ferry, for example. Like a ferry may be something that may work. All sorts of different avenues you can try. But to me, this is something that you need to go back to the drawing board. I know that we have government saying, you know what, I can't afford to prop up LIAT any longer. No, something like that is happening. No, people are going to be forced to go back to the drawing board and see what they could provide, what sort of cheap or reliable, or what cheap, reliable, and profitable transportation they could provide. Because governments are not going to toss the money into a hole, especially in these tough economic times, especially with COVID as well, where there's not a lot of money to invest.
All right. All right, Kev, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
Barbados selling the Barbados selling shares? You think it's
Right.
a power play, or you think it's just a business move?
Right. So like based on all the perspectives that I've heard so far, I mean, but touching too on what T said is like if they have about 800 employees, like probably 500 or so will be in Antigua and Barbuda. But I get what they're trying to do, like deploy to come with a new thing design, like a leaner design for the aircraft. I guess due to the COVID or whatever, they were coming up with marketing strategies, to push the brand a bit more. But will it really solve their problems? That's the question. And the $15 to $20 million investment, is it really going to help? Time will tell. But
I don't think that's not a lot of money, but
yeah, I know. I mean, like, so I think in the case we have to wait and see what happens, though. To be honest, but I get the marketing strategy they're using, but I don't know if it would really improve the service or if it would improve the number of people who would choose to go on the app. So time will tell.
Think,
go ahead.
hmm.
Go ahead, Manny.
No, I think is a situation where one has to look at how LIAT is operated, and I get Teege's point in terms of the efficiency and exactly how best it can be run as a business. If you, as Carter said, if you have 800 or 500 is based in Antigua, which is understandable, and it should not be that way. But the problem with LIAT is that it's always been on it, not verbal. You've always had it in a situation where these high taxes have incurred upon it. It has to pay these things. It has high executive salaries. You got to pay these people, all over the Caribbean, and it's not in a situation where it's been profitable. So when you look at it, and you got to be in a situation, first of all, if it was to touch on the restructuring process a bit, because I think I've discussed this constantly,
Go ahead.
I would fire everybody and start from top. The second thing, I would take
Well,
those cheap planes, I would sell them, I would trade I would utilize one of the older models for a little while improving and bringing competition into the sector so that you drop those taxes. And secondly, I would look at buying or purchasing or at least on loan a larger aircraft such as a 737 and moving that into various hubs and creating a hub
Bro, then
out
crack,
of
bro, then
various
crashing.
things.
So I don't know what you're trying to do, but
A
No,
a 737.
I,
but that not be too big.
basically just a,
But
just a, just an idea of utilizing a larger craft that you could fly into the metropoles so that you give not Air Jamaica but Caribbean Airlines and American Airlines, and you can utilize that in various areas. You could fly down into Brazil, you could fly into Panama, which is another massive international hub. You could fly over into Africa where you have absolutely no flights coming in for the diaspora. Everybody got to go through England and the UK and stuff like that. And you could then have another plane doing that, and then you realize that how quickly that becomes profitable because now
sir, let me keep it real. You can't. A 737 can't fly hit Africa though. That run out of fuel.
no, I'm utilizing a model just as an example. I'm not saying that this is the model you have to use. If I was to pick a model off the top of my head, I would probably use a 767.
I think triple sevens, but
What you would say though? What you would say is that LIAT could do with the rebranding, and with that rebranding as well, um, you can have this holistic approach to transportation where it's just not about planes. You expand your services because I actually agree. I actually agree with that point. We're going to Africa and going to Brazil and those sort of places to challenge Caribbean Airlines, but you expand. You expand it to travel to other areas, even to the US. For example, you could travel. You should be able to travel with LIAT, while at the same time you connect the Caribbean, so that you could be the choice for individuals who want to leave the Caribbean and the choice for individuals to go within the Caribbean.
Exactly.
But there are different forms of transportation. So through the one website, this is how you see it. You can say, yo, listen, you want to get a ferry to St. Vincent, or you want to go to St. Vincent, you get a ferry. That's only $40, $50, $60. You want to travel to the US, then that's the regular price. And if anything, considering the taxes that are placed on the app, which I think is nonsense. Like there should be no taxes for LIAT if you're flying to the Caribbean, if you're going to any of the ports, especially as CARICOM citizen. Because the way how I see that is that to put taxes on something like that as a CARICOM citizen, to me, in my eyes, that restricts movement. In my eyes, and I think that somebody should challenge that in court because I don't see anybody in the CCJ saying no, that's not a restriction of movement. Because if you have a tax that's so high it dissuades some individual from traveling to another country. To me, that's restricting movement. Because if you look at the EU, for example, it's cheap to go through the EU. You could fly on Ryanair for $2, or you could get a train for $5, or like if you've been to Europe, you probably know how easy it is to move from one place to the next. So to me, a tax that raises it to the point that you are struggling to afford it, to me is a restriction. So all the LIAT should be like a borders free sort of thing, in my opinion, and that's the brand that they should go for. Borders free. You go and you travel throughout the Caribbean and watch and see how tourism gonna go up, because we don't need to rely on the US for tourism. We could rely on ourselves within the Caribbean.
We should be.
Yeah.
So
I tell people we the problem that I have with the Caribbean is that a lot of us want to be individualistic. Maybe we should be coming together as a community of islands of people. We share universities already together. Why don't we push each other, support each other? Dominica has so much wealth in terms of fruits that fresh. A lot of great fruits, oranges, bananas, and people go and import from the States. We don't need to do that. We should be self-supporting a lot of the time. There's a boat that leaves St. Vincent and comes to Barbados. Well, this is before COVID. I don't know if it's still doing it right now. They used to bring avocados and different things from St. Vincent and St. Lucia and come to Barbados every Tuesday. I mean, that's small, little localized trade. But
True.
as a whole, we should be pushing that as a Caribbean, as a collective. Stop relying on the Western powers and beefing up and fattening up the Western powers and making us more reliant upon them. Where we have each other, we should be supporting.
Not only that, we are, and this is something that was mentioned in another podcast I was listening to, and we as a regional tourist, we are different, because chances are we got friends in St. Vincent, we got friends in St. Lucia. Like if you went to UE at one point in your life, you got some friend from somewhere within the Caribbean. That when you link up, you gonna be like, yo, fam, take me to that you got a friend in Jamaica, take me to that jerk chicken shop in this place in Kingston. Like ordinarily a white man ain't going to that small man. But you as a regional tourist going to that small man because you got a friend. Are you going for a party from somewhere? Are you going for some sort of food that another like international tourist would not get? And to me, like when you hear a lot of these small business owners complain and trying to compete to get into this to compete for a tourist, the caliber of tourists that they can't really compete with a Sandy Lane with. To me, regional tourists help fill that gap. And just by allowing individuals to travel at a reduced price through something like LIAT would help so much. That's just what you see it.
So you think that we've been conditioned to believe that the US and the weather powers have been better, as in not just the products that they bring, but also the quality of tourists, that they spend more money, so we for the rush to get those national
You
dollars?
only about finish that. That's a yes.
It's a fact.
Yeah. To me, we should have a diverse sort of tourism market. We should have for the upper echelon. For if you want to go to Sandy Lane, fine. We should be able to provide that for that sort of target market. But at the same time, we should be able to like, especially government working alongside with some of these small people, to provide a service for regional people or for other people, international tourists that may not spend as much.
Yeah.
To me, that's what you see it.
Hands down.
If I may touch on something, this year, or was it last year, was the year of return. Imagine what that would have been like if you could have get some Africans from the diaspora, not from the diaspora, but from the mainland, to come across and stop in Barbados or stop in Grenada or stop in Jamaica, or maybe even go down to Brazil through the hub of Barbados. Imagine what that would have done for tourism. Because why is it that Nigerians have to fly past the Caribbean to go to New York, where they'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard about this place, but not stop off in Barbados where they have millions of dollars? Kenyans, Somali, Yemeni, Cape Verde, Senegalese. Why can't they come to Barbados? Why?
They should. They
Exactly.
should. But
Instead of we
these
being
are
like,
things that we.
But isn't that not? If we don't market Barbados to the African tourists, that we more prefer
no,
to think of that to the British or Germans or whatever.
we
Is that
don't.
not?
I think it's only last year that we really opened up an office in Kenya with a joint office through Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So we're only now starting to see Africa taken seriously after all these years.
But do we provide an affordable product, of affordable tourism product for individuals who can't spend that sort of money?
Oh,
And
so
that's
you,
the other part.
Like
We
I'm
don't.
not an expert, so that's why I'm asking.
We don't.
Our island, I can't say that our island does. Other islands might, but our island does not.
as Steve mentioned just now, if you went to UE, you certainly will have a friend from somewhere across the Caribbean. But
Mhm.
whenever you ask that friend why they don't come to Barbados often, like I've done it with Danny's. Oh, Barbados is far too expensive. I cannot afford to come to Barbados. I can't live in Barbados. I can't even visit Barbados because it's too expensive.
Yeah,
Why
it
should that be
is.
the case? Why
Marcy,
should that be the case?
Marcy's New York,
Barbados,
the Caribbean. We don't know that, man.
yeah. So we have to be able to provide for all levels of societal strata, but we can't.
But
So
would that,
if you're
but
able
that
to
not have it?
remove those
Would that not need
taxes,
a paradigm shift? Because
well,
if you rely on such high taxes, such high prices, and you say no, we want to attract more diverse number of tourists, we not have to restructure certain parts of the economy.
yeah,
I don't think it needs restructuring. All to me, what they need is a demand for it. Right
yeah,
now, there's not a high enough demand with like increasing regional travel. Just starting with regional travel, reducing the price of regional travel to the point that somebody can say, you know what, let me go across to Barbados for a weekend. Let me go across to St. Vincent for a weekend. With that being with those sort of opportunities available now, people are gonna demand cheaper things, or people are going to find ways now, because you know how tourists work. People are gonna link up with their friends, or somebody will start a website, or somebody will put it up on Twitter and say, yo, look, these are the food places that you could go to and you will get a good price. These are the
mhm.
restaurants that you will go to and get a good price. I know people realize, yo, there's a demand for this. Let me start a little business in that area. From the time you got that demand for it, you can see the supply end start to come up. So to me, you don't need any legislation. Sometimes you put legislation in place, and is a nice little is a nice little display or something. It's like putting a little picture up on the wall, but then nothing else on the wall. It's just there for people to look at. It ain't being utilized in any way. So legislation, yes, you can have the structure there, but there's not going to be a demand for it. So
Sure.
I think the main thing is cheaper regional travel. I think it's gonna start there, and then people are gonna start to branch out. For the time they realize that people start doing YouTube videos and all those sort of different things.
And I think it's now a sudden realization where Grenada did it first last week. Barbados announced today that they're gonna actually drop or reduce the
Right?
taxes
Because
of regional
that's what I
travel.
want. They want the guys to talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
so
do you think how many people in car you think would move to this new method of lowering the taxes in travel? And do you think this was done without COVID? Do you think this would have taken place? Because we would have traditionally had money from the United Kingdom, Canada, United States, Germany, so forth. Do you think COVID has introduced a new way of looking at regional travel? Manny, you go ahead.
oh, okay. Right. So is yes, as I mentioned probably in another forum, COVID has more or less revealed all the issues that we have faced socially. It's always been a situation where if you work in healthcare sector, COVID has most definitely revealed the issues that are present there. We've seen them in the areas of policing, and we are now seeing them in the areas of tourism. And if you don't address them with enough gumption or haste or whatever, it's going to be a challenge. It was inevitable for them to look at it, but COVID only more or less speed up the process.
Yeah, it became more than just a low sentence in a speech.
Yeah.
because that's what it was at that point. Me and Motley was talking about it. There was some rumblings. I saw some people talking about it on Twitter, but to tell the truth, this was something that people like. This was a conversation that we've been having for years
For
now.
decades. So I'm a little boy
So
hearing this. I've been hearing that. You know, it's cheaper to get that market in the Caribbean. Hearing this for decades.
yeah, but to me, the conversation for the time COVID come in, and people realize, yo, we really got to start looking at our neighbors next door. Our neighbors next door can't get over the fence.
Mhm.
So from that point, people like, yo, yeah, we gotta consider this. So I fully agree with that. COVID brought some bad, but to me, to tell the truth, it bringing a lot of good. I ain't gonna lie.
That's true.
All right. Dugan, what are your thoughts on it, man? Do you think COVID accelerated the need for lowering the taxes in
I,
regional
I
travel?
believe I believe it was on the table from before
Mhm.
that they've been considering it for a while, but the fact
Mm.
that COVID came about, it didn't leave people with much of a choice because you want people to come to your islands, you want people to come in and come from overseas, and even if it's into island travel,
Mhm.
you want people to come in and spend a little money, do something because everybody know is suffering. Most of the islands are reliant on tourism. Most of them. I can't say that all of them are because some of them have other forms of investment in how they get their other forms of income, but most of them are reliant on tourism. And I believe that they had COVID forced them to look at it, reevaluate, and not just look at reducing of the taxes for travel, but other areas and other faculties as well. Healthcare, as M brought up, that was a major thing. You realize how inferior some of your systems operate, and you see how dirty some people actually are. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
for years I've been saying I see people go and use the bathrooms and walk out and don't wash their hands. I'm not saying that locals do that. I telling you from the perspective of somebody who worked in both air and seaport, seeing people leaving and coming into the island, how they operate, and
That
they're
ain't a
not.
Caribbean thing.
We be
That ain't a
I
Caribbean.
can't
There's a
say
lot of
why,
nasty
but
Caribbean people, but that ain't a
because
Caribbean thing.
these some of these are Caribbean people on the cruise ships.
Sir, I got Caribbean audience. I don't need this podcast to be kicked off the air, so be very
Okay.
respectful.
But we're saying that different cultures do different things, and the fact that COVID came about and having to tell people to wash their hands, having to tell people to keep their distance from people, having to tell people don't wipe your face, don't be touching your face after you sneeze or you wipe your thing in your clothes. People, I've seen people do that, and I know a lot of our Caribbean upbringing. We don't do that. We are that's frowned upon. That's nasty. We will wash our hands. You tell your children that. I tell my son that it's disgusting if you don't wash your hands. And don't tell me you wash your hands with just water. You need to wash your hands with soap.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you start with from young. And COVID brought a lot of good with it because you're seeing people try to be more cleanly. You're
Yeah.
seeing people having to understand that personal hygiene is important. Even though they were complaining about everybody else, it had a lot of good that came with it because it changed the world's perspective on healthcare. It's changing the perspective on travel and how the economies now have to find different forms and methods of making money. And that's not just looking at the Caribbean. You're looking at the Philippines, for instance. They rely a lot on tourism as well. Australia, a lot of other countries that we think that are more well off are suffering as well economically because they are also reliant on tourism and that air travel. They also have become hubs as well. Singapore, for instance, is a hub for air travel. So everybody right now
Dubai is
is
another one.
we have to now find a way to survive.
Yeah.
We don't even know how long the economies are actually going to survive because people. This is ideal time for if anybody want to change currency to change currency now. To be
Um,
honest.
COVID almost crashed capitalism, and we saw how that went. So
Correct.
yeah.
And many nations are still suffering from COVID.
Yeah, right. talking about suffering from COVID and crashing capitalism, the Prime Minister proposed the idea of having tourists come to Barbados, to work from Barbados due to the countries having spread of COVID, and due to the internet, you could work remotely. Do you think this is a smart move from Barbados, or do you think it could be potentially dangerous? I'll start off with Mr. M.
Oh, I think it is a bit of both. Um, it's a smart move because ultimately, yes, you need to get people to come in. Ultimately, the type of people you will be bringing in would be technology workers, people who are able to move around easily, who need something as little as a computer and a plug,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe some internet, and they should be good. But they will probably bring their families or a significant other or whatever, and be able to do that. I think the aspect towards at least being able to live here and to generate that additional income would be good. But the downside of that is that once you get here, you run the risk of being able to more or less infect the population as much as the government says its security is fantastic in terms of detecting people and making sure people are good. We have seen some challenges in terms of detection, and it's only a matter of time before it gets into the community again. And regards as to where it's to come from, we don't know. But I think it's going to be a situation where that happens, and we will move from the numbers we're at now, and that will continue to skyrocket, which to me is extremely worrying and a cause for concern.
Okay, Teague.
Um, I think it's a decent idea, but then I heard the requirements. So uh and I saw another thing that I saw a friend discussing it as well, because we're not alone in providing that opportunity to come and work for 12 months. There are other places that do it. So
Mm-hmm.
how are we going to compete against somebody like a Singapore or some I don't know about the other places that have it, but how are we going to be able to compete against that? That's one of the questions that came up. The sort of person that they're going for as well is somebody with a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody that will be able to fit the bill and come and spend a little bit of money. They're not gonna come in, which I kind of understand, because you don't want somebody just to come into your country to get trouble. You want somebody to come into the country and spend. So I kind of understand both sides of that argument. So I just like stuck in between on it. It's a good idea, yes, but you gotta see how it goes in terms of boosting tourism.
All right. Mr. Duguid, what's your opinion on the tourists coming in to work from Barbados?
As Mr. M said before, it's like a double edged sword. It has its pros, it has its cons.
Yeah,
They're limiting the income as well. You have to have a minimum of 50,000 US income to come in
Mm-hmm.
to
yeah.
be do it. That way, it will still help contribute to the country as well as you would be able to pay American taxes. I would assume, because the United States aren't gonna let you just get away and not pay your taxes
But
either.
would they have to
So
pay taxes in Barbados as well, or are you strictly into the country you're from?
I think they will, but remembering how low the taxes are here compared to the United States, in terms of our actual percentage of tax to be taken out from salary or whatever, it's not as high as it might have been in the United States. It's okay, and depending on the type of business you're operating in, it might be a breeze. You might feel like you're on a vacation for an entire year. You might already feel it if you're working. To be honest, you will have to
Mm.
considering that you will have to be worrying about the cold time where you're gonna be buying winter stuff and whatnot, and having to deal with higher airfares coming down during the cold time and only being able to spend a few weeks or a week down here. You're spending an entire year and you become part of the population, to be honest. And I could see some people not going back. I could see people
Mm.
becoming citizens down here. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
People come in here from England, United States, come to Barbados and go on vacation and never go home. Just decided to
True.
community. I have a former boss who came in from Ireland. on vacation in 1986. He came on vacation and he never went back. And he's a manager of a company here in Barbados right now. So anything can happen. I see there are a lot of positives with it. I mean, right now we have the students from the American universities and stuff that are down here, Americans who are down here regardless anyway. But because their visas are usually very short, they have to go back. Seeing that this now they're providing income for the country by them they're renting homes in Covely, they're buying food in our stores. The families come down here and rent to spend a little time with the children. So I can see that it does have a lot of positive impact, but again, we have the high risk of community spread coming back in again because we don't know how many people are going to fake their cards coming in. You've had issues like that before. You don't know if people are not going to go and get themselves tested and just rush in here and then hope the country tests them and that we can afford it, which then puts more additional strain onto the country, and we don't want to go back through another lockdown. We can't afford to go back into another lockdown. To be honest.
Um, how many people have we tested so far? Because the numbers were quite low.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Because I just heard like a thousand and some people were tested, and we got a population of 200 and something thousand.
Thousand, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
near 3,000, yeah.
Yeah, we got a population of 200 and something thousand. That was like 100 for the population that they would have tested. I don't know, man. Especially with reopening the country, it's a real it's a real iffy thing. Like
Very.
how many tests do we have? Uh, like reopening the country all comes down to capacity as well. Like how do you have the capacity to test? Do we have the capacity to treat individuals if they do get sick? All
Correct.
of those things you have to consider. If because yeah, it's a good idea, but at the same time, do you have the capacity if 10,000 people come down here to hold those people in quarantine? Because it would be easy to say, well, you coming down here for 12 months, you could quarantine for 2 weeks. That's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be fine, but how you gonna be able to hold them in quarantine
Correct.
if
And
they do get sick? Or what you gonna do? All those things you gotta consider.
I think also what you just mentioned was a key point in terms of capacity, but we are also looking at official points of entry. There are very much unofficial points of entry into this country, similar to what the problem in Trinidad is facing.
Mm.
Don't be taken aback to say that that doesn't happen in Barbados. It quite often does, and many people coming in from various points and ports and smuggling in and so on will become a challenge, and ultimately it will
We
lead
are.
to something happening.
Hmm.
It will
We
happen.
are. We have
That's
many points of entry for boats to come in.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Plenty.
All right. So, Kev, man, what are your thoughts on it, man? Do you think that we could is beneficial to Barbados, or you think that Corona would spread due to us spreading towards international, get international currencies or whatever?
Well, going last on this topic, I mean, you guys would have said majority of what I would say, but I would like to add that I do think it's very risky. It's not even a case where it'd be like a calculated risk, like a risk, and I mean, there's still 40,000 people employed in Barbados, so I don't want a scenario where people are coming in and getting jobs before our fellow Bajans. So
But would
I
it,
don't
would
know.
it, would it not be more? Are they having like a job like that they're working remotely from? So let's say work for like Intel or whatever, and I just come to Barbados to work. Even though I'm still employed by
Suppose
Intel in America, but I just got
Right.
in Barbados to stay to avoid getting COVID or dealing with
I
Donald
mean,
Trump
I
or a riot in America or something.
I think, yeah, for the information that we getting, I mean, that's the perception that they're portraying. But I just think it would be a bit risky,
Hmm.
and that's basically about it. Though I'm not really for the idea,
Hmm.
Yeah, I
but
I think it is a situation where to build up upon Kevin's point is a
yeah,
situation where um and I would not want to dwell on, but when you are at that tech person or that CEO person who's able to come in, you coming in with a certain amount over this vacationing by investment by another name,
Hmm.
um, is something that is a desperate ploy in in eyes of the government, but desperate nonetheless. And I think ultimately, when you look at it, by 17.5% VAT for entire year, and then you got probably rent a car as well. Yeah, you will get some of that money, but I think it's also a very sly way, going back to what Dude would have mentioned. If you get somebody to come, they will never want to go back, especially if you live in a two. Let me not say what I was going to say. 166 square foot country. I think that square mile. Um, I stand corrected on that. That is a quick way to increase the population. And to see where that goes, because if you get these people in, get them to spend money, get them to be able to meet your local people, you will see how quickly that evolves into something. But it's desperate, and vacationing by another name is a desperate ploy to be able to get other things done. And I know the government is trying very hard to get many things done, without really admitting it. So yeah.
Okay. We
Yeah.
have Mr. Salim in the live chat. He says, as you guys realize, persons coming to the country are bringing in the virus, and we have cases of that happening fairly recently. So that's something we have to really look at as well. He also said people like to take advantage of sorry, dyslexic, sorry. He said as people use it to take advantage of loopholes. So I think he's talking about taxes and whatever. Because I know certain countries, once you live overseas, you don't have to pay taxes to the country that you're from. So most countries. So maybe that's another way people could use it to save money. I guess.
I was gonna mention if y'all think that Drake is gonna stay here for a year
I mean, he's Canadian.
because
I mean, he's
I
Canadian. Black
mean,
market says it's
but it's not just open to the Americans as we think. He could come down here now, probably start doing some music down here. We have
He didn't go. He didn't went back.
we have facilities.
Well, he said he coming back.
No,
He said he is.
he didn't leave. He didn't leave. He didn't went back to
He
Canada, right?
left. He's
He
left
left,
already. But
yeah.
Right.
he said he'll be back. He's fallen in love with the country apparently.
He think Barbados bad though.
I said the only people that like bars is Bajans, so I'm not
Yeah.
surprised.
But you see,
You know,
but
but sometimes when you're in the house sitting down long, right? Some people just
mhm.
come over and say, "Yo, you got a nice house," but the fact that you was just in the house sitting
Yeah,
down long, right?
it's true.
You kind of tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
want no, so you want to see outside,
Yeah, it's true.
and I think there's many of
but
us at this stage.
yeah.
But y'all saw the video when Drake was like Barbados boy from Black Rock. I was like,
Hmm.
you got something for Beijing then like
Yeah, and Drake will be back for sure.
That's
yeah.
a good thing. That's a good side exposure for us, especially when a
Correct.
big celebrity come on hold on. But the
Pop
thing
can
about
too.
it is that people talk about exposure, but people don't realize that the individuals who people like Drake and what's not expose, like the type of individual that is the target audience for people who listen to Drake are individuals like you and me, and we not working or we still at school, or we live with we parents. We ain't spending a big money to travel. We don't have a lot of big money to travel.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
But the body
so
girls do.
yeah. So to me, like we should be. That's a whole. That's an untapped source for
Yeah, but
tourism.
true. But if you start to look at the challenge that millennials face, that's a whole discussion on its own.
Yeah,
Um,
it is. It is. But the taxation, to me, when you really look at it, tying into to what you mentioned with the challenges millennials face, like back then, our parents don't have to pay much for stuff. No, we gotta pay an arm and a leg and a liver
Yeah, and plus
just to
government
go somewhere.
wages haven't really gone up either. So
true.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other factors as to why that is. So there are a lot of things that need to be discussed, especially for what we go through. The cost of living, the cost just to live, dog, is so high.
all right. So Salim
It's
said
so high in Barbados.
it's also a
So
way
that's
it's also a way of getting citizenship. So is that a play the government is ultimate using? Do you think that's the ultimate end game? Like,
you
Well,
mean
as I
because the government.
citizenship by investment?
Well, yeah, you have like a higher art. Let's say I come from the United States. I come on this program, and I decide to stay, and they give Barbadian citizenship.
Yeah.
They got to look at it. I will be wealthy. I'm probably intelligent, which leads to the possibility of my children being intelligent. So that helps Barbados, grow. So I think it could be a play for you. Look at it.
I remember I called it vacationing by investment by another name, and that's exactly what we're saying now.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately, going back to what Dude would say, he had a boss that came in and said, he ain't going back.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, if you get people here to show them what the country is like, what the people is like, what the food is like,
Mm-hmm.
eventually you're going to fall in love with it at some point. Going back to what T said, if you're stuck in your house, somebody comes over and says, there's a nice house, I want to build a house next to you, then you'd be like, why?
Mm-hmm.
But to them, they be ready to take you out.
Right. So now I said the majority of money comes from regular tourists, spending and landing and air and landing taxes. So I think he believes that majority of money will come from traditional tourism rather than this program. But would you say that? I think that this probably is a longer term program than a traditional tourist. That's why I tend to look at it. Anyone would like to discuss that? Do you think this is a longer term program rather than a short term program?
I think it's going to be a long term
Mm-hmm.
because if we see that it becomes very lucrative,
Mm-hmm.
and that the times, like I said, times have to change in terms of everybody's economy around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this can end up being a long-standing ploy for our tourism. One,
Mm-hmm.
two, it can diversify our population because a population on 166 square miles. I mean, we everybody on the island is basically family at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That happens throughout the entire world. So you start to diversify. You're allowing other people to come in. You're allowing other people to stay. Relationships can be formed. People getting married. You got more locals on the island. You got more children. The population is going to start to grow. Hopefully, because I know that's what everybody in the country claims that they want. They want more population. Even
Well,
though, yeah,
I need more money to get Darian and Alyssa Bartlett. So I mean, only gotta give me some more money. They too poor.
Darian and Alyssa.
but
And
it also means that we might be able to strengthen our dollar because being it's tied to the US dollar,
Mm-hmm.
things can happen. We're showing a little more compassion, a little more exposure, and we don't know what are the results going to be. Who are we going to get, and how is it going to grow?
mm-hmm.
They're looking at the positives, and hopefully, I believe they're thinking the positives outweigh the negatives, and we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
they got quite a few Bajans out here that might want some US citizenship right now,
Who
even
that?
though it's
Some
still
man I
chaos.
got. I mean,
Canadian citizenship.
let me tell you,
Correct.
I'm got hell in a high basket right now, so I don't know if I want to run these states right now, but
You know what?
America's a mess. I don't want to be there. No,
No, right now, people
no.
planning for the future.
People already blaming Trump for the rats. No, it's suddenly Trump fault. So no, I don't know, but yeah, I want to go out there in that mess.
yo, Teague, I told that man get 2 terms. I killing the boy. He said that man get 2 terms.
He can get on that law or the bit. A lot of people tired of what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of people feeling it. But I sent Mr. M a video of a gentleman complaining about the politics in Formula One, which F1 has always been very political, but he's very upset of a particular person, Lewis Hamilton, speaking on the current Black Lives Matter situation. So a lot of people, they say one thing at the front, but their opinions are very different. So
Yeah.
Yeah, a guy was calling it the silent majority
mm-hmm.
Hmm.
because
Mm.
the radical lefts are dictating everything in the media and what's not. But
It's,
there's so many individuals sitting down on the ground that are just regular people like me and you. I would say, yo, man, yeah, what happened to George Floyd was bad, but I don't really think that going and breaking in and destroying somebody thing and doing that is good either. So they're seeing the destruction around them and they're saying, well, they're right. This ain't right,
I,
fam, but
I don't
that's what they
not to
say.
not to change the direction of discussion, but I've always just found this terminology of the radical left as something to be hilarious when is only you're considered a part of the radical left when you ask for better support in education, for healthcare, for better maternal and paternal services, and I just find it funny. But that's a discussion for another time. about how that affects people like Omar and AOC and stuff like that. But that's a discussion for another time.
And too far left is right.
Exactly.
Facts. All right.
No,
Yeah.
They switch gears a little bit. We had another big topic, guys, but the guys warmed it up. That would take too long, and we got work tomorrow, so we'll run that through next week. But you know what? A big show happened on Wednesday. The gameplay for Halo Infinite was revealed in the Xbox showcase. I want your guys' opinion. Was it next gen to you, or do you think the game needs some more polish? We start off with our official Xbox fan, the Bajans, Don Match, Phil Spencer. So, what your thoughts on it, man?
You could tell it wasn't next gen.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's in keeping with the policy that Microsoft has, because they're taking a different policy from Sony, where they want to develop games that would go all the way back to the Xbox One, like the original VCR Xbox. I think that's bigger than the VCR that I got at home, actually. Yeah, but the original VCR Xbox. And I think because of that, not only that, you gotta remember like the development timeline for the game as well. Not justifying why it isn't looking next gen, but I just saying like I just putting out reasons why it's not looking next gen. But this was a game that started development before the Xbox Series X was even a thought. So for them to headline with Halo Infinite, and they put all this buzz, and then it looked like a last gen game. Something that looked like something that would be from like, I don't know, early Xbox One, like 2013 when the first release, the first Xbox and the first PlayStation. To be honest, that's how it looked to me. It doesn't show, and for a show that was supposed to be, hey, this is why you should buy our console over PlayStation. To me, to headline with that was that was sad.
Disappointing.
That was sad.
Yeah, Kev, what's your opinion, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was watching gameplay, right? And before the show started, I wanted Teegue's take on it because we know he's an Xbox fanboy, right?
Not
So
really, but yeah.
we know you love. We know you tolerate the Xbox thing, right? In other words, so
Yeah,
you play the
I
Halo, but
tolerate it. I
right.
own one. Like he just played out here.
But the point I'm getting at though is that the gameplay to me, it wasn't like like something you would expect in 2020. You would expect the graphics to be a bit cleaner, the gameplay to be a bit better. Even the the graphics during the storyline, like to me, it wasn't like the standard that you would expect. So I know it's just the demos. So I what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna give them some time, see if the actual gameplay for the actual game is a bit better. But from what I've seen so far, I think it's they took a step down and they have a lot of work to do.
All right.
I hear that the scrambling. There isn't going to be a beta for
Oh,
that game anymore.
oh,
That's what I hear. Like they're really scrambling to fix it.
hmm
Cause not only was there last gen graphics, but if you look, there was some pop in. I don't know if you guys know what
Yeah.
pop in is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the best example of pop in is Grand Theft Auto 5.
The GTA 3. Remember that? What the old ones, the old GTA 3s. Remember, like, we drive in and these buildings just come in all of a sudden. You
Yeah,
like, what?
yeah. So things, textures will be loading in. It wasn't as bad as a GTA 3, but if you look at some of the gameplay, you'll realize that some of the world was popping in. So you could tell that was developed for Xbox One, and it was based on the limitations for the Xbox One. So you got an Xbox One version, not a Xbox Series X enhanced version or anything like that.
All right. Mr. Teegue, what's your thoughts on the gameplay, man?
My viewing of the gameplay, the graphics honestly could have been better. The story on that 8-minute show seems a bit dry.
yeah.
It really could be fleshed out. It seems generic. The gameplay it seemed rushed. You're trying to compact so much, and it still didn't even have a lot of meat to it, even though it was rushed, and it has a long way to go. That's my personal opinion. Halo is a massive thing. Like I grew up playing Halo. Come on,
Yeah.
secondary school did it.
Yeah, boy.
Halo games it.
Yeah.
Never
That's true.
stop doing school. Play Halo on the computers.
All right then.
Yeah.
And looking at what we had in the past and then looking at that is bland.
Apparently, Halo 5 looks better. Apparently, I never
Yeah.
play Halo 5,
Yes,
but people
correct.
say Halo 5 looks better.
They're disappointed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. M, did you get a chance to watch the gameplay?
No, I did not. That's why I'm over here keeping very quiet, hoping you don't call on me.
Alright, tell me, sorry. M, are you here? Mr. M, just relax for now. Alright.
You over there, the red shirt. Who? Me? Yes, you.
You
What
got
is the
right
answer to
for
the question for you?
I can go ahead, man. Honestly, I was disappointed. I know how how I feel. I'm a PlayStation dude, but I think Sony needs some proper competition. And I really wanted this gameplay to be the revolutionary game again, because that's what Halo was. Halo proved that a shooter could be done on consoles, and I was kind of expecting a second revival of Halo.
As you should.
Yeah,
That's how they advertised it.
And to me, I was left disappointed when I first saw the graphics. I was like, okay, a little lackluster. But as T correctly pointed out, that it had to be on the older gen consoles, so I was more looking forward to the gameplay being revolutionary, and it just fell flat, man. I don't know if 343 Industries are the right people for Halo. Maybe it's one of the things that when you're under such pressure that you don't perform. I'm thinking that maybe they need a new IP. And I mean, even
Was it a
as
launch
far,
title? That was another question that came
It's
into
a
my
launch-
mind. Was it even?
it's supposed to be a launch
Was it
title.
even a? No, but I mean, was it a launch title for the?
Series X? I honestly think this
No,
was supposed
was
to
it
be.
a launch title for the Series X, or was it an end of life title for the Xbox One?
I think it originally was at end of life. Like, you know how PS3 Sony had Last of Us to cap it off.
Yeah,
And
that's what that game looked like to me.
Right, and I was thinking,
Like, it doesn't look like it was developed
right,
for
right,
the Series X.
yeah.
And to me, when you push in the most powerful console, we got the most powerful console, then you should be showing, your headline should be a game that's showing, yo, we got these top class graphics running at 60 frames.
Mhm.
And not a last gen game running at 60 frames.
Yeah,
We didn't want to see
was thinking
Red Dead.
at one point maybe they're pushing 120 to say, hey, look, we do sacrifice graphical quality, but we believe the future forward should be more in frame rates. So we're pushing 120.
Yeah.
And then I heard it was 60. I was like, I don't
No,
know.
60 for certain games. I know that certain well, I try to remember the name. Stuff from Xbox Studios.
You push for 60.
Those things are going to be 120.
Right. So I was thinking the Halo gameplay sense, it didn't look graphically impressive that it'd be 120 frame rate, but it was just 60.
It wasn't even running on an Xbox, so
Man, I don't know, man. Halo to me is the new AC Milan, boy. I don't know. This franchise.
it was running on a PC apparently.
But that thing, but PC it should look better than. Like, PC's the creme de la creme of gaming, like.
Exactly. So if it's a case, if it's a case where it was saying,
Even it come out on the console.
no, they say that apparently. So this is what I heard. This is from an industry insider, right? This is from somebody that works at Microsoft. That system that they ran, the system that they ran the game off of, was a system that they don't even use for gaming. So, like, for testing the game is a system that they use for debugging. So if there's an issue with the game, they will run it on that system and then try to fix the errors. They don't use it particularly for running the game, like playing it through or anything like that. So it wasn't a PC designed for that. It's a PC designed for error testing and that sort of thing, I assume. So to see that it was running on that, so to hear that there's no beta, it means that they may be scrambling to try to get an enhanced version for the thing, and it may not be good.
All right. So
That's something that you gotta consider.
So Teegue, as a man like Xbox, you think that Phil Spencer should step down, or you think that it's just a case of wrong timing, a case of bad timing, that it just things haven't come together due to COVID and you launched the system. Maybe they caught when the Sony was putting out a system. Maybe they want to do it in 2021. We think it is, man.
I don't think that Phil Spencer should step down. He is taken. Let's be real. Let's be real. Xbox tossing punches with PlayStation right now, and that even though they may be losing the battle so far, at least they're in a position to toss punches. This last generation, like, even though they got the more powerful console coming down to the end, what does that mean? It doesn't count for much if you don't have a lot of games.
Right.
PlayStation had a ton of exclusives, a ton of good games as well. And to tell the truth, like when you watch that show, I know it wasn't a great show, but look at it compared to the 2013 show. Look at how much games were shown. Like almost 32 games were shown. All of them exclusives.
Yeah.
Either console launch exclusives or exclusives. That is so much different from what happened before. So I think they're gonna go on. On top of that, they're looking like they're gonna buy WB.
Yeah, they want. I mean, Phil spending money, but I think the pressure. I think the problem is that when you're losing, people want results. No, it's like a football club. People want results. No, and I think Phil was in a position where he had to almost rebuild Xbox on scratch. So I think they take time to do what Phil wants to do, but I think they just gotta hold out and just keep relevant. You might lose to PlayStation now.
I think they would,
but they gotta just keep hanging there. I think eventually they'll bring Sony that competition because Sony needs competition. You know what's happening to Sony?
Sony
They just get arrogant.
Anti-consumers.
I love them, but they just get arrogant. So they need that competition.
Listen, if it wasn't for Xbox, Sony would continue with some of that anti-consumer ways. You really think that PSN would be getting Call of Duty?
Nah.
If it wasn't for Xbox doing the thing with online services, it's like Sony gets so anti-consumer. That's why I struggle. That's why it will probably always own an Xbox, even though it will go and get a PlayStation, because a PlayStation was something that was around from my childhood, and I got like that bond to it. Like Xbox has done so much, like Microsoft has done so much for gamers. So Sony now getting
they brought
firelight under them.
They brought online to gaming. I mean, you gotta give them credit to that, man. You can't reject them for that, man.
Yeah, they did really well. So even though what happened with Halo is a bad thing, to me I'm still gonna get Xbox because I want to get both consoles at the end of the day. But the big thing for me is for individuals who were thinking of buying, for an individual that was gonna buy a Sony, a PlayStation 5 anyways, how you gonna persuade them to buy an Xbox or put Xbox in their home? Like, to me, that the Halo flopping is exactly what hurt them in that respect.
Alright. We're gonna wrap up soon for now. We gotta talk with this guy, man. Some people are gonna be upset, but we gotta talk with this guy, man. My guy, Romelu Lukaku, man. 23 goals into this for a season. You know, when he first was announced for Inter, it was a lot of people doubting him. The price tag was hefty. Even I was saying that, that price tag is a bit steep. He's gone off a couple bad seasons at Manchester United. He was called Timms. He had a bad touch. I mean, he touching it best, but that's still my guy.
As a fella say, he first touch expired.
You're right.
First touch at subscription expired.
Get better though.
They were saying that instead of playing Pirelli on the shirt, it should be Pirelli. But 23 goals in his first season, tying the phenomenon Diego Milito at Inter Milan. Teegue, what's your thoughts on this, man? Do you think Lukaku has been underrated at any times, or do you think that he's fairly judged?
I think he just get a piece of the United curse, man.
Yeah, correct. True.
When you have, I was trying to explain this to the guys in football group, because you know how Man United men get, like, if they're going in a supermarket Oh, I want this, I want that, I want the next, I want the other. Just to go home and pelt it on top the counter for it to just go sour.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening with most of the players at Manchester United because they don't have their upper management. Like upper management is really really important in a football club.
Mm-hmm.
Your upper management is gonna make or break you. That's what's happening with Barcelona right now. Our upper management is struggling with our board. The board turning against the players turning against the board, all that sort of thing. You had a situation where the upper management at Manchester United was not good, and there was no when Fergie left, he didn't Fergie handled everything. He handled the upper management. He handled some of the finances of the club, everything. So when he left, they know how to scramble to find this thing, and they think that they never really found good footing. And because of that, you have instability in the club, which affects the players, and they think that affected Lukaku. So now you have a club that has itself together, like Inter Milan, that's moving forward towards trying to win some trophies. And boom, he got that stability. He got a good coach. He's gonna perform to his fullest potential. To me, I saw what Mourinho saw in him, a target man,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably what he's doing. I don't really watch the Italian league or football in general, though, since Barcelona start doing the dog. But
Well,
maybe that's the role that he plays
Yeah,
for
he's more target.
Inter Milan.
He's
I
got
know
more
you
target
could.
man, and he's going to roam a little bit with more target. And he's played with a combination of Lautaro Martinez or Alexis Sanchez, who's another guy who
yeah,
left Manchester United and is doing well now. So
it's true.
Yeah, he could provide. Like once you don't have the thing about it is stability.
mm-hmm.
A lot of these players know. A lot of these players back then, they had a stronger head,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't have as much pressure
Correct.
as players now have. If big man, if you don't perform on a match on Monday night,
Hmm.
you gonna find out how you perform and all the opinions that you have for the time you get in that dressing room. They got post match discussion. They got people on Twitter live tweeting. People saying that Lukaku is this and the next and the other. Lukaku fat. This and the next and the other. And he can see all of those things. So it's easy to get into a player's head. So stability is what you need. So I think that because you get that stability, boom, flourishing.
All right, Mr. M, as a Manchester United supporter, what do you think Lukaku didn't work at your club, and a brief glimpse of what you think he has worked at Inter?
Okay, well, first thing, my disclaimer up front is that I haven't watched football in close to 7 years.
Oh,
So I just saying that I've been an academic, or at least I've tried to be,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not been able to watch football. But I heard a statement being made about there's a curse at Man United, and I don't believe there's such. I believe there's a curse at every other team, but Man United is where you come to lift that curse. And we we,
Well,
we,
it's
we, we,
Liverpool
may,
though.
we may not be having the best days such as the days we've had and the highs of Ferguson's, but we'll get back there. And I think for somebody Lukaku, yeah, I think everybody, when it comes to every sportsman, there's always a situation as to the right environment, the right mentality, and I think maybe he just wasn't getting that at Man United. Everybody has to move on, make a decision the best of them, and now maybe the team he's at now is working better for him than
Sir,
Man
the
United,
team is
for
Inter,
sure.
sir. It's Inter, not just the team. Let's get correct here. Trouble next year.
Yeah,
Well, we got Inter fan
there are
up
too
in
many
here. That's right.
Milans. There are too many Milans, so
Sir,
I can't. I can't keep
there are only
up.
two. There's only AC and Inter, right?
Well,
Probably
yeah.
there's only one Milan right now, in my opinion.
Far too much.
Mr. Carter, sir, what's your thoughts on Lukaku?
great.
What do you think he feel at Manchester United and he's found his feet at Inter?
Man, it got to. I wouldn't say the curse, but something about the management. Man, look at Falco. I mean, he was one of the best strikers in the world, ripping up La Liga when he was at Atletico Madrid. He went to Man U. He probably had like what, 9 goals in 50 games or something. I mean,
Wait,
for
he alive? I ain't hear
for
about
us,
he since he retired.
he at Monaco still, I believe.
Yeah,
But for
Monaco.
us, for a striker his quality though, to only have, like 9 goals in like probably 50 something games. Like, we can look at who else
Di
also like
Maria,
that. The Maria. Oh my God, that was
Sanchez. But that was kind of
but
that was kind of bad move
yeah,
for the jump.
yeah. But to me though, the Lukaku thing always baffled me what he didn't do. I don't. They might be cursed real, but I
Hey, hey,
remember
hey, hey, hey.
watching him earlier this season though for
Mhm.
Inter. I remember you and I were discussing that. You were saying that his overall game improved so much. I mean, the first touch still,
It's
still
not.
needs
It's still not
little
the
to
best.
be,
It's not the best, but it has
yeah,
improved.
little to be desired. But his holding up the ball play,
Mhm.
his finishing, the pace. He looked hungrier. He looked more enthusiastic. Even the team play, even he's even more creative. He plays a lot of true balls to Lautaro Martinez. They link up really well. They score a lot of goals together, provided goals for one another. So his overall game has improved a lot, ain't it? So I really still baffled as to what was the problem at United. So I can't answer that question.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mr. Dugan, I know you're not a big football fan, but do you think it is a you think it's a more psychological reason for what people have said, or you just think is more sportsmanlike?
It usually comes down to the psychology.
Mm-hmm.
A
Mm-hmm.
man can play good any day, anytime. He could be known for being a good player. But when people start to get into your head, people
Mm-hmm.
start saying things about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As well, man talking about the management, if the management ain't supporting the players properly and backing the man got underperform.
Mm-hmm.
It start at the top, and if the top don't help you, and you letting other people get into your head, your performance can drop. That's a fact.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
But
No matter how good you are, you could be the best in the world. And then people get in your head, your performance can drop.
Yep,
all right,
it's
all right.
true.
But Mr. M on the break, so yeah, he's qualified for Champions League football, so maybe man, you looking up now. So
Hmm.
our final topic. Let's round it up. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Our boy Fabio Quattararo has made it 2 from 2
Oh
back-to-back wins in MotoGP.
boy.
Um, and our star boy Valentino Rossi, the old dog,
Rocky.
the veteran, my childhood hero,
Yeah.
is back on the podium. Kev, I got to start with you, man, because you know you got to follow MotoGP much more than I do.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a lot of doubt about Fabio. A lot of people questioned if he would ever get a win, if he was overhyped. And there's also a lot of
Yeah.
doubt surrounding Valentino Rossi. Should he have retired? Do you think both of them
Hmm.
have answered their credit so far, or do you think they still need to prove themselves a little more this season?
All right. I can start with our boy Fabio Quartararo first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that he's only 21, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's already had 2 wins under his belt so far. And I mean, the question last year when he was a rookie, competing with the big boys, the hype around him was tremendous. But he's really handling the pressure very well. And I think to answer your question though, I think because we know Marquez is a top dog, he won the last four world championships in a row. He has about 7 in total now, right? So the fact that Fabio could keep up with Marquez, because usually when the race starts and Marquez takes the lead, he just checks out and gets about 10 seconds, 15 seconds sometimes on the rest of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So I think testament to the fact that Fabio has proven himself is the fact he can actually keep up with Marquez during the races. I think stamina, he got to work on his stamina though, because as the race wears on, he tends to get tired,
Mm-hmm.
and Marquez still has that capability to pull away. But so far, he's proven himself. And Valentino, well, I mean, the man is what? He's like 40. He's
40,
like 40 now.
42 or something by now.
41, 42. I mean, the man was riding that bike like he was 25. Like,
It was good to
I don't
see. It
think
was good to see,
I
man.
don't think Rossi has anything to prove. I mean, he has the most world titles. He has 9 world titles. The fact he's still in the sport is amazing. I do believe he should retire at the end of the season, though. I don't know if body's gonna keep up with the pressure of handling the bike and all the lateral G's and all that stuff they have to handle. So I do think he should retire this season, but he really proved himself in that race. I mean, he pushed Vinales from start to finish, and Vinales is like 10 years or so younger than him.
He's
So
25, so yeah, like, that's a
he's
good age.
25.
Yeah.
Wow, 15 years actually. So yeah. So to ask, so yeah, my response would be yeah to answer the question for both guys.
All right. Um, I was thoroughly impressed by the performance Fabio put on Sunday. And he took the lead, controlled the rest from beginning to end. It's almost a Marquez-like performance, in my opinion, which I found
Yeah,
very
yeah,
surprising for Fabio. Um,
yeah.
Valentino, man, I'd never seen Valentino look so impressive in a very, very long time. I said he about years in that race. And for me, I always said this: I want to win one more race and just retire. Okay, I don't want to go not winning a race in his final season. I want to go as a winner.
Yeah.
But I think this is the change in the guard, and I just hope Fabio could keep it going from now to the end of the season. But we have to also address the elephant in the room. Marcus sustained an injury in the last race, and he wasn't able to race this weekend. So Fabio
Right.
has the advantage to gain a massive lead in championship. He has 40 points on Marquez already. But we have to see when Marquez comes back, because Marquez is the man that knows how to win. So
Yeah,
he has been given a golden opportunity, and he has to take it.
yeah,
He has to take
correct,
it.
correct.
Any of you guys into MotoGP, Teague, or anybody into MotoGP?
Nah, I only watch F1, boy.
Yeah,
That's it for motorsports.
back in the day, it was MotoGP for me, but that since gone. F1 primarily now.
Yeah, boy.
Yep.
I honestly, you man, I hear something that sound good again, so I start following MotoGP, man. So again, sporting
Yeah.
a crack game.
Yeah.
All right.
F1 is enough, boy. F1 is enough for me.
I mean to be fair, but I love how they got the double headers though. So you 8 o'clock, you watch MotoGP, then they got F1. Like
Yeah,
that's amazing,
correct.
bro.
Yeah,
So
that's exactly what I do. Yeah,
yeah, and there will be when next Grand Prix is.
This Sunday.
this Sunday.
This Sunday with
Yeah,
Britain, but I think
and MotoGP taking the week off
week
though.
off, right?
MotoGP the following week. Yeah,
Following week. So there's a little
yeah,
break, but
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
the following week we'll have a double header
Correct.
again. Oh yeah, and I was supposed to say before we close off, we will finish off on a little Formula One news. 3 additional races have been added back to the calendar, including Imola.
Yay,
So
yay.
we due to
Yeah,
COVID,
boy.
we are seeing some benefits of old tracks returning. How excited were you when you heard Imola was coming back?
Boy, when you said it to me, it was hype,
Wow.
because it was like, some of these people, a lot of these people are on the grid now. Ain't race
Yeah.
on Imola.
I don't think any of them
No,
did.
boy.
Maybe only Raikkonen.
Raking in, maybe raking in,
Yeah.
or Kubica,
He done.
but Kubica,
All them ain't gone. No, all them ain't
Classic
gone.
track.
Kubica is a reserve.
He's reserved. Yeah, but
He's a reserve for Alfa Romeo.
yeah, but I mean, as in like he don't race full time. That was trying to say.
You don't really know
Yeah.
race, but
Yeah,
yeah, Kimi, not even Lewis, that was before his time.
exactly.
Yeah, it's true. But that's such a
I,
classic track though. Wow. Yeah,
yeah,
boy.
I would love to see. I would love to see them. You guys ready for for this British Grand Prix though?
Of course.
Yeah, man. We still.
Yeah, and to be fair, we also got 4 new races. So we got, I just said Imola. We are Mugello, which is not necessarily a track in Italy. We're back at
Well,
Nürburgring, the GP circuit, because we haven't been at Nürburgring for Germany in a long time. We've mostly been at
years.
Hockenheim.
Yeah,
And we're at Portugal for the
Damn.
first time. So
Interesting.
it's an amazing thing. I mean, it's sad that we had to be on these circumstances of COVID, but it's good to see that we're seeing some new circuits as well come back and some old ones returning. So
Once Max is winning, I'm good.
all right,
Max.
we're shutting the show. Sorry, we thank you guys for coming.
Max.
And on that controversial point,
All right, then.
All right, we see you guys next
Yeah.
week. We try to be back on next week Sunday. We have some difficulties, but we should be back next week Sunday. We're looking to have our big topic, Mr. M. When you think we'll be able to have our discussion?
I will see how the week plays out and into Sunday, and if Lewis wins, it definitely is not happening. So
oh, you get
you'll
me
see how
hurt.
it goes.
All right,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'll be salty. So yeah,
we still try to bring you on though, and we'll see you guys next week. Just be easy, everyone. Stay safe. don't catch COVID, don't get AIDS, don't drink too much rum, and we're out.
What?
I said don't get AIDS.